ABC.
North Coast.
Well, let's stay with producing film and music because two northern New South Wales locals, Megan Albany and her husband, musician Marc Mittag, are today releasing the soundtrack to Megan's Banjo Prize shortlisted novel, The Very Last Wish of Vivian Walker, a black comedy loosely based on the idea of a woman's bucket list desires. In different parts funny, sad and poignant, with a cast of very idiosyncratic literary characters. The soundtrack album was mixed by the ARIA award-winning producer Matt Fell and is a musical celebration of the themes in the book. I caught up with the all-singing, all-writing couple and began by asking Megan to give me a sense of the book, which is her first novel.
It's a black comedy about a woman who's dying, but she's still got a list of things she has to do, but it's not like a kind of Jack Nicholson bucket list. It's more she still has to do the dirty clothes, she's decided she needs to sort out her son's toy room before she dies, and it's basically the mundane list that mothers still have to do even when they're dying.
That's right. The work never ceases, even when the life does. It's inspired you two to write a soundtrack. So, Marc, to turn to you, where did you feel the music would sit with Megan's novel?
I think one of the beautiful things about Megan's novel is how honest, real and raw it is. You know, it's a real tell it like it is story, and the characters are very much tell it like it is characters. So we wanted to create an album of songs that were in keeping with that sort of honest, intimate, raw feel. So, they're very much raw emotions. They're not your standard love songs or anything. They talk about life, death and everything in between. And we tried to keep the actual arrangements, the approach to the album sort of very honest and raw as well.
What's your experience with songwriting?
We've been doing it for as long as we've known each other.
Which is a long time. We've written music for film and TV before. We had a song at number 26 in the Irish charts.
In the Irish charts?
Yeah.
The Irish charts.
We've had our music way back in the day. We had some music as ringtones in Finland.
Oh yes, very, very famous in Finland.
Well, if you're famous in Finland, you're huge in Helsinki. The music that you've come up with to be the soundtrack to The Very Last List of Vivian, give me a sense of the genre. Who inspires you as songwriters?
I mean, I grew up in the western suburbs in Sydney, so I grew up on kind of Meat Loaf and Acca Dacca and graduated to kind of Motown and Stevie Wonder. We kind of have very eclectic tastes, the two of us. So we've done an acoustic album, and mainly because really Marc's just an exceptional guitarist, and I wanted that showcased. A lot of people will listen to it and they'll think, oh yeah, there's a bass player and there's multiple overlays or a pedal being used to do multiple overlays. It's just Marc doing his thing on, in one take on the guitar. So I really wanted to focus on that, to keep that intimacy of it. We've been married for quite some time, so he does like to overstep the mark, so that it was meant to be simple, but he ended up putting down, 20 layers of harmonies. He got a bit carried away with himself. Started to encroach on my territory, but anyway, sounds fabulous. We'll pull him into line later.
And does that link in, Megan, to the characters or the plot of the novel? Is there a sense in which the music extends the life in the imagination that you've created through your characters?
Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely what we wanted to do. So there are, there's a couple of kind of more up-tempo things that I imagine. Viv has a larger-than-life character called Auntie Sugar, and she would be boogieing around the kitchen with all things shaking that shouldn't be shaking to some of those songs. But then there's other songs that really do reflect it, that the kind of, because it's a bit of a roller coaster, the book. It's sad and it's funny and it's poignant. And so there's a song called Never Existed, which is about how, when someone's gone, it can feel like they never existed, like they've just disappeared. And then there's another song called Clean House, which is based on a Mae West quote that a clean house is the sign of a wasted life. And so that's kind of a look at domesticity and it's kind of the beauty in, the everydayness that we have in our relationships, and the stuff that when someone dies, we actually miss the stuff that has annoyed the crap out of us. So that kind of speaks to that, and that was actually written with another Northern Rivers writer called Wendy Ford. She'd done a very different version of that, and I heard it, And I just loved the concept, and it was already, the blues, the melody was already there. But I said, do you mind if I get your baby and give it a facelift and completely, a boob job and totally change it? And she very graciously said, sure, you can do that. So I completely changed the lyrics to something that reflected the novel.
Now you had the music mixed by Matt Fell, and people may know that he's an ARIA award-winning producer. What was that process like working with Matt?
Oh, Matt's great. He's just very intuitive and such a humble guy. He's such a master of what he does. Matt's one of those artists that he's a mean bass player, guitarist, singer, everything else, and then he's an absolute god in the studio. So it's great fun. You pour your heart and soul into writing the songs and recording it, and it's nice to have someone you can hand it to that will really get what you're trying to do and listen, and he's really the other member of the band, I reckon. And
it was really lovely because Matt and Marc actually went to uni many moons ago together, so it was kind of a lovely reunion for them musically.
Megan, for you, is writing the novel, is that a different part of your imagination and your creativity than writing the songs?
I don't know, that's a very good question. I think they all just kind of, I call it, for want of a better word, channeling. It kind of just happens. It's a bit like, I need to go to the bathroom now. That's kind of how my creativity is often. It just kind of sneaks up on me, and it might be 5 a.m. in the morning, and I go, okay, right, I can't sleep, here we go. Let's see what comes out today. And yeah, so it's been a bit like that. It's been nice to combine them too. I mean, I guess the difference for me is this is my first novel. I was more of a short form writer before, so I guess short form writing and music are very similar. It was a bit of a marathon for me. I'm a bit of a sprinter, a bit lazy. So doing a full novel was a job, and then having to edit and re-edit as is the process. It's a very long process, the editing process, and I've been a journo for years, so I'm used to editing. But again, journalism's wham bam, thank you, man. You do it on the day, you edit it, it's in, it's out, job done. You don't have to think about it. Whereas a novel's a very, very different process.
Your soundtrack is being released today. I hope it goes really well. By the sounds of talking to you two, there's a lot of creativity and enthusiasm involved. Thank you so much for talking to me this morning on ABC North Coast.
Thank you.
So much.
It's been such a pleasure.
And that is Megan Albany and her musician husband Marc Mittag, and they're both North Coast locals. And Megan's book is called The Very Last List of Vivian Walker, and it's published by Hachette. Now, before the news headlines with Julie, I was chatting with the author, Megan Albany, and her musician husband, Marc Mittag. They're both North Coast locals, and Megan's new book, a novel called The Very Last List of Vivian Walker, which is published by Hachette, has come out, and it's been shortlisted for a Banjo Prize. But what I was chatting with them about was the soundtrack that they've both written to accompany the book, and that soundtrack is being launched today. And this is one of the songs on that soundtrack. It's called Clean House, and it's by Megan Albany and Marc Mittag.
No dirt on the window. Is that why you're staring out? Don't care what our life looks like from the inside. What's that about? I'm picking up things off our floor. None of them mine, they're all yours. Seems like I've done this forever, but who's keeping score? Because the clean